Coming up on the Q30 Newscast, celebrating International Women's Day, how one organization on campus created an event unlike anything done before.
Hear important information about the university's plan for spring break closing. We'll tell you when you need to leave campus.
And a lucky opportunity for some Quinnipiac students, details on a St. Patrick's Day event in New York City.
All that and much more on this edition of the Q30 Newscast.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Q30 Newscast. Tonight's show will be hosted by QBSN. I'm Emily Sweeney.
And I'm Mike Singer. We are so excited to be here tonight to make a change from our usual sports talk. Instead, we're here to bring you all the latest news from around the Quinnipiac and Hampden communities.
Now, as the first ever chairwoman of the sports organization on campus, March is one of my favorite months, not only because it's my birthday, but also because it's Women's History Month.
And speaking of women's history, the university has done a lot so far to show support for the International Women's Day, which happens to be today, in fact. Here is Q30's Julia Barcella with more.
Today is International Women's Day, and Quinnipiac is celebrating like never before. Monday evening, the Student Programming Board held an event, People with Periods, for the first time in honor of Women's History Month.
My inspiration from this came from NACA, which is a conference that SPB attends every single fall, and a lot of other schools in the area were doing something similar.
The event also functioned as a donation to the CT Diaper Bank. Attendees were able to donate menstrual products and funds to the diaper bank to help the greater community.
They spend that money and buy the products. They distribute that to families and women who can't afford that themselves. Because obviously buying tampons and pads, it racks up and it gets expensive.
Attendees were thankful to be given the opportunity to support other women.
Because I feel like it's very important to support the women in our community, and giving back this way is such a good way to immerse yourself into the community.
The overarching goal of the event was to bring awareness to the female body.
And I really hope that people come to this event because we're trying to destigmatize periods and I don't know, I guess like the female body in general.
And we just really want people to kind of understand that most women in their life will kind of experience this. And we want people to feel like it's a safe topic that they can talk about, that they can ask questions about, and just really, drive that message across.
For Q30 News, I'm Julia Barcello.
Moving on with an educational event regarding abortion laws. The university held an event on Tuesday from 12 to 2:30 on the North Haven campus. This event was a deeper dive into the laws regarding abortion and reproductive justice. Students and faculty joined a guest speaker to discuss their opinions on different topics, such as how abortion rights should be decided across the country. This event was a part of the Quinnipiac Women's History Month.
The Department of Culture and Engagement is hosting their next inclusive conversation, this time on gender equity and inclusion. The event took place earlier today at the Mount Carmel Student Center, room 120. The DCGE conversation explored gender equity and inclusion of women and non-binary people, as well as also recognized their struggles not just in America, but also here at Quinnipiac University.
Quinnipiac is offering a new 7-week course starting in the fall called Spanish for Business. This asynchronous course will introduce students to basic Spanish vocabulary and grammar, as well as certain phrases and cultural perspectives. The course is open to any students who can speak Spanish either as a heritage language or who has at least 3 years of high school Spanish or 3 semesters in college. Students may also contact the professor for permission to join.
If you're buying from another country, you can use your own language, but if you're trying to sell, then you really need to know some really deep information about the country, about its history, about its people.
The School of Communication plans on changing the Strategic Communications Department's name to the Department of Advertising and Public Relations. This change was sparked by trying to be more inclusive to the majors and minors that are offered in that department. And that's not the only changes. Course code names will also be altered. The department informs students to remember these new course names when registering for classes for upcoming semesters.
With spring break approaching, the Office of Residential Life is reminding students that dorms will close on March 10th at 6 o'clock. Residential Life will also be conducting a health and safety inspection of dorms once students leave. Residential Life reminds students to unplug all items listed in their email, as well as lock all doors and windows prior to their departure. Residential Life reminds students to please take any prohibited items when they leave.
And with this spring break coming up, there has also been some talk about a possible future of education.
A new initiative that focuses on building relationships and tackling mental health and burnout within school populations. With more on this initiative is Q30's Joe Monti.
The United States education system has been experiencing a teacher shortage. The education system is already about 300,000 teachers short. Although the shortage is nationwide, some Quinnipiac University professors say the effects are felt worse in certain communities.
The disparity is where we don't have resources for students. You can be in one zip code and have every resource you need to succeed. You can go 1 mile over and be in a different zip code and you have no resources.
The shortage began years ago and has worsened for a number of reasons. One being low teacher salaries.
It's not a secret what the starting pay of teacher is, even though Connecticut is better, I think, than...
Quinnipiac has been working to fight this shortage in many ways, including through the Advancing Diversity in Science program called QUADS.
So this is really taking everything we know about best practices in teaching, interdisciplinarity, problem solving, critical thinking, the skills that people need to be awesome and amazing members of society, as well as critical thinkers, scientists, nurses, other teachers, everything, and do it with the student centered in the middle of it.
There are also programs to train future special ed teachers.
So the goal is to be able to have every child reach their potential, and if they are in need of special education and related services, then we have to look at them as individuals, look at their strengths, and look at where they need some help.
Quinnipiac continues to try to help improve the education system each day. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Joe Monti.
Speaking of education, the university was recognized today for its efforts to connect military members to higher education. Quinnipiac was ranked number 3 in the country for private schools that offer doctoral degrees. The rankings were done by Military Friendly, a nonprofit that measures an organization's commitment to creating opportunities for the military community.
Yesterday, auditions for the new Play Lab were held in the Eklund Center Room 101. Students were asked to prepare a 60 to 90 second monologue from a play, television, or film in order to audition. Callbacks for the play are being held tonight from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Theater and Arts Building. The first performance will be held on April 21st and run until April 23rd.
With the daunting task of finals on the horizon, Quinnipiac held a study habits workshop titled Building and Breaking Study Habits. For most students, studying is not fun, but this workshop discusses how to make studying more fun and effective by teaching which study habits are bad and better ways to study. This workshop was held by Jamie Flores, who is from the Learning Commons at QU.
President Judy Olean has been appointed to the Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics. The commission that was founded in 1989 prioritizes student athletes' health, education, safety, and success. Following Olean joining the commission, in July, she will also become the chairperson for the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Conference.
The Quinnipiac Athletics Department has been supporting a fundraiser that collects money for the victims of the Turkey and Syria earthquakes. The fundraiser was started by 2 of the Quinnipiac volleyball team's international student athletes, Damla and Yamir Ganesh. The sisters are Turkish natives, and they made a video on Instagram to bring awareness.
Our country needs your help. Quinnipiac Athletics started a fundraising campaign to raise money to help the earthquake victims in Turkey. Our hearts are bleeding right now, and we are asking and we need your help and support as much as we can get. Every donation counts.
There is a website to donate, and the team has been standing outside of other athletic events tabling for donations as well.
Quinnipiac Athletics aren't the only ones helping out. Earlier today, Fresco's award-winning Greek restaurant located off Whitney Avenue in Hamden also hosted a fundraiser to help students of the victims, of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fresco's donated 20% of all their total sales to help save the children that had been affected by the earthquakes, according to their Facebook account. The owner of the restaurant shared that his grandmother moved to Connecticut from Turkey in 1920. He says he wants to do whatever he can to help people within similar lineage. Now, we have to take a quick commercial break, but coming up, we have some political news with Jackie Drovo, and later on, we have some sports with Connor Core.
Hey, before we go, I want a little hint on what the weather's going to be like seeing as we finish out this week before break. So why don't we go over to weatherman Joey O'Donohue to get some news on that. Joey, what have you got for us?
Thanks, guys. We've got a roller coaster of a weather report coming up, but I'm just going to give you a little tease of the first 3 days. Today, the sun was shining with a high of 46 and a low of 27. Thursday is going to be partly cloudy with the high of 47 and a low of 31. And then Friday, completely cloudy with a high of 45 and a low of 29. But it's going to get even crazier than that, so stay tuned for my full report.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfies. Nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Drew, spot on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Thanks for staying with us on the Q30 Newscast. Election season may not be until November, but the candidates running for mayor in Hamden are already preparing. Current Mayor Lauren Garrett filed her paperwork last week to run for a second term since taking office in late 2021. She has worked to improve funding or replace a firehouse in South Hamden and improvements at the Keefe Community Center. The Republican Party has not yet announced who will be running against Garrett, but they say they are planning on putting someone forward to take on the current Democratic mayor. Moving on from the local elections, I wonder what other political news we need to know.
Well, Mike, you're in luck because with more on news on the political realm, we have Q30's Jackie Drovo in studio. Jackie, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Emily and Mike. A lot has happened in politics this week. On Saturday night, former President Donald Trump spoke at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, otherwise known as CPAC, in National Harbor, Maryland. His speech, which went on for more than 90 minutes, was met with criticism as he made many false claims. His speech comes 3 months after he announced his bid for presidency in the upcoming 2024 election. In his speech, Trump made inaccurate claims about a range of topics, including claims about his own presidency, the election results, Biden's presidency, foreign affairs, the economy, immigration, civil unrest, crime in the country, and NATO. Though his speech was full of false claims, it was the last one delivered to mark the closing act of CPAC. On Monday, Florida, West Virginia, and Missouri withdrew from the Electronic Registration Information Center, which is the nonprofit, bipartisan, multi-state partnership meant to help states maintain accurate voter rolls. These are not the first states to leave the ERIC. Alabama and Louisiana previously retreated from the partnership. Louisiana withdrew in 2022, while Alabama left in January of 2023. Florida stated its withdrawal due to data privacy concerns and blatant partisanship. Missouri claims they left because ERIC requires member states to participate in addressing multi-state voter fraud and restrictions on Missouri data reports. Lastly, yesterday Biden released a plan to reinforce Medicare Trust Fund by raising taxes on those who earn more than $400,000 a year and also allowing Medicare to negotiate prices for even more drugs. This proposal would extend Medicare's resources by 25 years or more. The plan could be stopped or delayed, though, by the Republican-controlled House, which is against tax increases. Last month, Biden promised that he would extend Medicare's trust fund in his State of the Union address. The measures needed to do so will be included in Biden's 2024 budget proposal, which is set to be released tomorrow. That's all I have for politics tonight. I'm Jackie Drovo. Back to you at the desk.
Jackie, now it's sad to say, but we have to take another break from this QBSN Newscast takeover. But after the break, we have some national news from Ben Rickovicius.
We also have some news on the student loan forgiveness and our specialty, sports, so stick with us.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Now, Mike, we got a sneak preview of the weather, but I want to know what the first half of my spring break is looking like. So why don't we give it back to Joey O'Donoghue to give us some more with a local and 7-day forecast.
Thank you, Emily. Now, I told you guys a little bit about the 3-day. We had some sun, we had some cloud, but on Saturday, we might have some snow. The Quinnipiac students enjoyed a snow day pretty recently. They might get a snow weekend over the break here as the high is 44 and the temperature could be as low as 32. Then we get to Sunday, and all of a sudden, it's bright and sunny again. I mean, where did we go with that? And then Monday and Tuesday, we might have a little bit of a wintry mix, guys. The high of 44, a low of 33. And then Tuesday, a high of 43 and a low of 32. So that was our little look into the future. But let's gift ourselves with a look at the present and the current temperatures in CT. So Torrington is the lowest right now at 40 degrees. And then leading the way, we have Norwich and New London at 47 degrees each. Hartford and New Haven, 46 degrees, and Danbury, 43. So that's the current state of the weather right now. Thanks for sticking with me. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks so much, Joey. After months of silence, President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan is back in the conversation. Last week, the Supreme Court heard 2 cases about the plan. Q30's Vanessa Blassie has more on what their decision might mean for us college students.
Last week, the Supreme Court heard arguments in 2 cases about President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, and now the conversation among students is flowing.
Every conversation I have with other students about student debt circles around this notion of, I wanted to do something to better myself, why am I being penalized for doing so?
The nation currently has $1.75 trillion in student debt. With Biden's plan, he will cancel up to $20,000 in debt for Pell Grant recipients and up to $10,000 for those making less than $125,000 a year. To get this going, Biden used the 2003 HEROES Act, placing COVID-19 at the forefront.
The COVID-19 pandemic, sure, it was able to be used as a thrust into the national conversation regarding student loans. But even without the COVID-19 pandemic, this conversation still should have been happening.
While both Quinnipiac political organizations agree that the plan's intentions are helpful,
it's an important conversation that we need to have, especially as young people, so that the next generation of college students can have a little bit easier a time than we had.
College should be universal. College should be free.
Ellsworth says this plan is not a long-term solution.
The conversation needs to be more focused on how do we increase funding to 2-year and 4-year public schools, and how do we maybe give out more special grants and scholarships.
Both Ellsworth and Capuzzo agree that debt presents a large barrier for success.
What you do by having, shackles of student debt is you restrict people from being able to pursue the passions that they want.
After this hearing, the plan is still on hold, yet Biden remains confident that this is the right move. The Supreme Court is not set to make a decision until late June. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Vanessa Blassie.
The Supreme Court awaiting this decision, why don't we jump into some more national news?
And we aren't going to do that ourselves. For national news, we have Q30's Ben Rickovicius. Ben, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Mike. The FBI reported that 2 of 4 American citizens who were kidnapped in Mexico have been killed. The Americans crossed the Mexican border last Friday and their white van was shot at. The Americans were identified early Tuesday morning. Officials believe they were targeted by mistake. It was also later revealed that an innocent Mexican citizen was also killed. The Department of Homeland Security and Mexican authorities are still working on the case. The FBI is even offering a $50,000 reward for the safe return and the arrest of those responsible. An accident was avoided at a Boston airport Monday morning. 2 United Airlines flights made contact with each other after taking off. One flight was being pushed back from a gate when its right wing hit the tail of another flight. The second plane was parked and no injuries were reported. The 2 flights were headed to Newark and Denver and were rescheduled for later that day. This incident joins a list of other commercial airport accidents that have taken place in the last few months. FAA Administrator Billy Knoll said that there will be a team that reviews airline safety in the future. Finally, 2 people were killed last Sunday night at a concert in Rochester, New York. Officers arrived at the concert after 2 gunshots were heard. The shots caused a panic throughout the crowd, resulting in people getting trampled. 1 person is in critical condition at a local hospital. Performer Glorilla offered her prayers on Twitter after the concert ended. That is your national news update for Q30. I'm Ben Rickovicius.
Thank you again. Once again, we have to take a break, but we have so much more on deck for when we get back.
Yes, we have a men's hockey preview from David Marr, some other Quinnipiac sports news, including women's hockey quarterfinals and their national bid. And we also have a story on St. Patrick's Day Parade. We'll be right back.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? I'm high. Oh.
Welcome back. As promised, we have Q30's David Marr with a preview on Quinnipiac men's ice hockey and their postseason games.
So let's not waste any more time. David, how's the postseason looking for the Bobcats?
It is the ECAC quarterfinals this weekend here in Hamden as the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team welcomes in their rivals from Whitney Avenue, the Yale Bulldogs, for a 3-game series this weekend. This is the first postseason meeting between the Bobcats and the Bulldogs since the 2013 National Championship game in Pittsburgh, when the Bulldogs defeated the Bobcats 4-0 to win the National Championship game. Let's take a look at some series notes between the Bobcats and the Bulldogs heading into this weekend. Quinnipiac has won 10 straight against Yale dating back to 2018. The Bobcats won both games in the series this season by the combined score of 9-1, with the 5-1 victory in Hamden being the last time these two teams got together. The goal for Yale, their lone goal in that game, was the first time they scored a goal in Hamden in 6 years. Let's take a look at some of the X factors in this series. For the Bobcats, they'll turn to sophomore transfer from Union, Colin Graff, to steady the offense as he has gone on a torrid run the last 10 games. For Yale, in between the pipes, they'll turn to Luke Pearson, who was pretty solid in Game 1 against the Bobcats in Hamden, despite giving up 5 goals in the loss. Game 1 of the ECAC quarterfinal series starts at 7 o'clock here in Hamden at M&T Bank Arena on the York Hill campus. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm David Marr. Let's send it back to the desk.
Being from QBSN, we may be biased, but we definitely are always excited for some sports news.
And lucky for us, that's exactly what we have next. With more sports news, let's send it to Q30's Connor Core. Connor, what's happening in the world of athletics?
Yeah, thanks, Mike and Emily. It's March, so you guys know anything can happen. So let's take a look at where Quinnipiac winter sports are heading into the tournament season. Starting with the women's ice hockey team, the Bobcats lost in a landslide margin against the Colgate Raiders on Friday night, losing the ECAC semifinal matchup by a score of 5-1. That one goal came off a rebound put back by senior forward Alexa Hoskin. Despite the loss, the team earned an at-large bid in the national tournament. Quinnipiac will be going up against Penn State this Thursday at 6 p.m. in Columbus, Ohio. Head coach Cass Turner had this to say in a press conference on Monday ahead of the game, saying, quote, "Coming off a disappointing loss and feeling like we didn't necessarily perform at our best, we're going to be so hungry. We're not going to give anything to chance," end quote. The winner of this Thursday's game will take on the Ohio State Buckeyes on Saturday in Columbus. Taking the almost 10-hour drive from Columbus to Atlantic City, New Jersey for the men's and women's MAC basketball tournament, Quinnipiac has posted 20-win seasons for the first time since the 2013-2014 season. Both teams are entering the tournament as the 3 seed and will play their first games tomorrow. But against who? For head coach Baker Dunleavy's side, they will be facing off against the Marist on Thursday at 7 p.m. The Bobcats swept the regular season series by a margin of almost 20 points in both games combined against the Red Foxes. On the women's side, Trish Fabry's squad will be taking on the Manhattan Jaspers as they snuck by the St. Peter's Peacocks by a score of 59-56. 4 players from the women's basketball team earned all-conference honors, but one stood out from the rest. Graduate student Mary Baskerville was unanimously selected as the 6th man of the year after averaging 8.6 points per game and 6.4 rebounds per game. Now, before I mention anything can happen in March, Mike, what else is going on in this month?
Well, now that you mentioned it, we're now moving from sports to an Irish staple. We have the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Attending the local St. Patrick's Day Parade is this week's Quinnipiac. With more on the event and the Quinnipiac, we have Q30's Samantha Pirelli.
For over 30 years, Quinnipiac University has invited students to go to New York City for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. The students who choose to participate can walk with the Quinnipiac banner during the parade. Graduate student Jerlath Flanagan attended last year, and he adds that the experience was unlike anything he could have imagined.
I think what I learned was going through the parade, meeting people that were long-term organizers of the parade, stewards that were standing along the way. They had fond memories of Quinnipiac through the years attending, so it was really nice to hear them talk about all of the history of the school marching. It was phenomenal.
Although Flanagan expressed that he had the opportunity of a lifetime, he has some suggestions to better the experience for the next group of students that go to the parade.
A lot of different things were happening on the day. There was traffic going into New York City, there was a lot of bad weather. Our group that attended got disbanded on the way there. We had to drive there separately. So I think if the school could put on a transport where we all get there together, because there is some large equipment, the banner is on a wooden pole, it would make that a lot easier.
Flanagan mentions that the Irish representation at Quinnipiac was one of the main reasons that he applied to the university in the first place.
So last year when we received the emails from the school, part of the reason why I attended Quinnipiac was because of the historical heritage connection with Ireland. And being Irish myself, I figured that'd be a nice event to attend.
For Q30 News, I'm Samantha Pirelli.
With all the St. Patrick's Day spirit in the air, we wanted to know if Quinnipiac students had experienced the luck.
This week in our Q30 News Twitter poll, we asked if students had been to a St. Patrick's Day parade before.
And the results are in. Out of 37 people who voted, 41% of students say they have been to a parade, while 59% say they have not.
If you've never been to a parade, you still have the chance. And Mike, have you ever been to a St. Patrick's Day parade?
You know what, I have. I live about 5-10 minutes from Pearl River, the staple of Irish people in New York County.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been to a couple. When I was a Girl Scout, we used to walk in all of the St. Patrick's Day parades, so I definitely have been to a couple of those, especially with my Irish background as well. But coming off of all that Quinnipiac spirit, they can still sign up to go to the parade.
They can. The parade is on St. Patrick's Day, which is March 17th. Students need to find their own form of transportation and need to be there before 1 p.m.
The link to sign up is in your email, along with more information. Anyone who wants to go should complete this form by Tuesday, March 15th at 5 p.m. If you know anyone or want to nominate anybody with an interesting story, you can nominate them to be our next Quinnipiac.
You can scan the QR code on your screen to fill it out, and maybe you or your friend will be featured next time. And with the St. Patrick's Day celebrations continuing on, that is all we have for tonight.
I would first like to thank Q30 Newscast for having QBSN on air and tell you all to make sure to follow Q30 News on Twitter to see all of their content. From the producers and everyone behind the scenes, for Mike Singer, I'm Emily Sweeney. Sleep well, Bobcats.